view desire like a psychic energy that we envelop an object of fixation with to compel our body and mind to come up with a strategy and an openness to opportunity to performing that strategy to become one with the thing, to relieve that sense of almost anxiety, separation anxiety, I dare say, or longing, or just separation and lack from this object, which is being superimposed over the sensation of fulfillment that we are kind of numbing out from, um, so that, the things happen that we do when we move towards what we want. And so, from this kind of perspective, where it's looking at it in something of an energetic or metaphysical way, I think that there is a lot of power in allowing yourself to want the things that you want. And I think there's a few different layers to this. So, of course, there's the most superficial point, which is that you already want it, and that's not something that you can necessarily choose to turn off. Maybe in some cases you can, but I think that the energy remains unless some sort of experience is had that causes you to choicelessly let go. Maybe. So then there's layer two, which is a recognition that you desire a certain sensation. And I feel like most of the time, with that will come the symbol that your mind pairs with it automatically. And so it's kind of a simultaneous thing that we might not even distinguish from each other that often, in that we will identify the symbol or the object of desire as the one that owns the energy of completion that we are being drawn towards. And then the last layer that I'm looking at right now in this metaphor, I guess, is that of allowing yourself to both, how do I put it? Like, there's the strategy of how to obtain it that takes into account the ways that it might not be possible, or in other words, the challenges that might need to be overcome. And when one is dealing with a mental object of desire and then generating mental objects of um, obstacle, the objects seem as real as each other. So the sense of possibility that we generate about this thing, or the sense of desire, is equally tangible and material to us as is the sense of um, obstacle or inability to obtain it. And so, on a sensory level, if we're not looking closely, we might react to both of those mental images as if they were real. Not that they're not real per se, but in that moment, they're definitely not. Even if you're looking right at it, you're still interpreting something technically unknown with your map of language and experience and memory. And so it's permission to yourself, as I see it, to more fully desire that thing when you release the reaction to the aspects of this mental game you've created, um, so that they no longer have ownership over this energy of I can't, or I might not, or first I'll have to. So the conditional energy, the limiting energy, that is representing a limited experience as we interpret it to be. So, like, if I want to teleport from here to there, there's the limitation that I don't know how to do that, and so I have to walk. But in my mind, I can allow myself the effortlessness of that same kind of activity of teleportation while I consider and do it instead of kind of agonizing over, in a subtle way, that's a big word for it, but the effort that my body has to, in its limited form, exert to do the thing. So that's one half of it, is letting go of the mentally generated sense of limitation as we then embark on our journey that does confront with limitations that we can't necessarily expect or um, what's the other side of that? The other side of expect. So then the other side being, if oh, I've forgotten it. Oh yeah. So should I allow myself to want something? Does it mean that I have to pursue it? And so I think of this of like our deeper shadowy desires of like maybe we have a moment where we're feeling hurt and angry and our imagination creates this representation of desire, which is to do a terrible thing and maybe hurt someone physically or attack them. Um, and so we'll usually then go, no, 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 and then talk ourselves to the other end of the spectrum or suppress it or just move on. And I think that on one level, like, yeah, that's great because we have our morality for a reason. But then there's still this energy inside of us that's trying to express, be heard, and find completion so that it can move on, really. And so if we just allow ourselves to, in the same way, not feel limited in that expression of desire and recognize that the mentally generated story and imagined symbol of what that desire wants isn't necessarily it, we can allow that to pass through us, allow ourselves to want it, and then to let it go and not pursue it. We don't even have to be conscious of that. It's not intrinsically connected to the narrative picture or scene that the mind makes. We just accept it and accept that we can let it go. And then that way we have a lot more control over what desires we choose not to let go of and can more consciously and effortlessly direct our life.